Hello and welcome to my latest weekly video news from Madison's. Well, this week I thought I would give you a little bit of a roundup for the world of lettings. There's lots going on in the world of lettings. I tend to focus more on sales simply because I head up sales here in Madison's, but I thought I'd give you a roundup on what's going on with lettings. And of course there were some very, very sad headlines recently with the sad death of Awab Ishaq, a little 2-year-old who died back in December 2020 because there was fungus in his lungs and his blood caused by mould. Now, mould is a huge issue for rental properties. Generally, it is deemed to be a lifestyle thing. But that has to be operating within a property that allows you to have ventilation. So mould generally builds up in rental properties because tenants often dry their clothes on radiators. They might not open the windows so much after cooking, bathrooms, etc. And so much of that mould is caused by lifestyle. But of course with Awab, the terrible situation was in Greater Manchester was that his parents had complained many times about mould. There was a broken extraction fan, there was no window from the bathroom, it just went into a communal area, and there was other windows that you couldn't open, so they couldn't ventilate that property. And Michael Gove, the housing secretary, came out strongly after that, saying he really wanted to crack down on these bad properties that are owned. Of course, the head of that particular local authority housing association has subsequently been fired. His role was untenable. He didn't want to go, stayed as long as he could, but was now gone. And Michael Gove looking at how there needs to be more ownership and responsibility around local authorities to make sure that properties are kept in good states for tenants most at need. And of course that links into the private rental stock. There has been a reduction in that lately. I've been talking about that a lot. There's been increasing legislation, regulation. It's become less attractive from offsetting your costs perspective, so your tax is much harsher. There's of course the 3% stamp duty you have to pay, the surplus for buying anything other than your principal private residence. So that has meant there's been a retraction of private rental stock, and that has compounded the problem of these pressure on these local authorities to find properties for tenants most in need. But interestingly, a report came out that showed that actually over 80% of professional landlords, I think the figure was about 89%, of professional landlords actually wanted to grow their rental portfolio. They still saw it as a very good investment and a great return on their money. But also 49% of those cited that the reason they would like to invest more into the rental market is because of social help to their area, recognising that there is a need to provide more housing for those who can't get on the housing ladder and purchase a property. A lot also recognised it as a good financial investment and a variety of other reasons as well. But interestingly, landlords who only had 1 or 2 or 3 properties, so wouldn't be deemed big enough to be a professional landlord. Professional landlord means you make your main source of income from renting properties out. So accidental landlords, you might have owned a property, had a flat in London, thought about moving to Tunbridge Wells, thought I don't want to sell it, I'll rent it out instead. Or you might have thought I'll just have 1 rental property to boost my retirement pot. That sector of the market is absolutely looking to retract from the industry. And the main reason they have cited is increased regulation. HMOs, they've come massively under the spotlight with all the increased regulation lately. That's a house of multiple occupancy. And the Telegraph did a Freedom of Information request to local authorities and found out that there were a whopping number of fines. On average, the average fine to a landlord with an HMO for breaking current regulations was between £10,000 and £15,000 per landlord. And quite often the landlords didn't know they were doing anything wrong. The legislation is complicated around HMOs, really complicated. And what makes it even worse is it varies from local authority to local authority. So for example, some local authorities will not deem that you have an HMO until you have 5 people living there from different households. Other local authorities will say that figure sits at 3. So a lot of landlords were caught out because they might be renting a property to 2 people, let's say, and one of those people moves in their girlfriend or boyfriend, and suddenly you have 3 people, unbeknownst to the landlord. He in his mind probably still thinking, well, an HMO, that's got to be up around 5 people, even if he does get wind of it, and actually gets fined, therefore, for not complying with the extreme enhanced regulation that sits around an HMO. HMOs often have a shared kitchen, shared bath, and they have increased fire regulations, all sorts of safety measures. So that is definitely causing a lot of accidental landlords who have looked at HMOs as a great source of investment to retract from that market. So there is no doubt that more needs to be done to encourage private landlords to stay in the rental market. At Madison's, we actually have a bit of a proposition around accidental landlords. It's the vast majority of our rental book are accidental or non-professional landlords. Those landlords that need a little bit more hand-holding, which is exactly what we do really well, and guiding them through all those choppy waters. But it was great news for landlords to see last week that the Mortgage Works, the massive lender, the Halifax's lender, reduced their, you can now get a buy-to-let mortgage rate at sub 4%. A couple of months ago, they were up above 6%, terrifying. But now there's a 1-year fixed at 3.89, and indeed 4-year fixed and 5-year fixed money at just slightly above 4%, so still really, really good rate. So that is better for landlords. So yeah, I'll always keep you posted. James posts regular vlogs as well on the world of landlords and lettings, my husband. And if anyone wants to talk about their rental property too, please get in touch. Just interestingly, Italy, a country I absolutely love. Did you know that most English-speaking people who relocate to Italy tend to go for Tuscany? That's an area they really favour. They also love Sicily, Palermo in particular, and Umbria. And the reason they quoted was because they want to see the sea, but not be right next to the sea. I just thought that was great. I love Italy. I love all things Italian. One of my best holidays ever was our Italian road trip that we did a few years ago, full of laughs and tears quite a lot of the time. Anyway, Mayor's Toy Appeal, up to the 11th of December to drop in your toys to us. We've got an enormous, you can't see behind here, an enormous hamper. They come and get it regularly. Thank you so much to the generosity of our wonderful residents in Tunbridge Wells who pop in all the time. It fills our hearts with joy when you come in with your toys. Remember, new, not used, unwrapped, please, so they can work out which child to go to. But please drop them in before the 11th of December. And a property I've just launched, who knew as we come into December, a lovely 3-bedroom semi-detached on East Cliff Road. It's on at a guide of 775,000. Been extended to create a lovely open plan kitchen diner, 2 additional reception rooms, lovely west-facing garden, off-road parking. It's got so much to give in that wonderful grammar school catchment area. So if you'd like more details, give us a call. Have a great week, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye-bye.